Greetings once again. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. We're in the middle of summer, starting a summer here, June 6th, 2025. Hard to believe it's been 5 years I've been doing these videos. I keep saying that. So, half a decade. You've got some catching up to do if you haven't seen the old ones. You see everything, it's like a time capsule. Go back and look at everything that the store has gotten as a new release for the last 5 years. Boy, that sounds like something fun to do on your summer vacation, right? Anyway, all right. So I do have a handful of new releases today that I need to get to. So I'm going to jump in because I have a lot of things. I said last week the video was going to be shorter. It still ended up being 45 minutes. So let's try and move it along. First thing today, new Turnstile record. The last one, Glow On, was kind of a sleeper hit. I mean, it sort of was quiet when it first came out, and then it just sort of exploded over time. Heavy sort of rock. I guess it's like sort of, I don't know, on the maybe the lighter side of metal or the more melodic side of metal, I should say. But this is their new one, Never Enough. And this is the limited periwinkle color edition for indie stores. I think this one's going to be really big. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be terrible. I have no idea. No, I don't think so. It's hard to know anymore. You know, you're really just sort of taking a chance a lot of the time. I mean, you can hear a few songs sometimes before an album comes out and sort of get an idea. But anyway, excited about that. I think that's going to do well. And also, it's available on cassette if you're interested in that. It's a nice little blue cassette. Don't have a lot of those, but we can get more, I think. Caamp and their new record, and it's called Copper Changes Color. And this is the olive green vinyl indie retail edition. Caamp is one of those bands that also sort of started getting bigger and bigger with their last record. I think they're about ready to, I don't know, sort of explode in a way in popularity. Matty Diaz is on this record with them. So, yeah, Caamp, looking forward to that. That's sort of, I know around here they got played a lot on like WXPN and stuff, so they definitely have their support system. Going back here a while, and you know, they had a record, I think a few years ago maybe, but this is an interesting sort of Doobie Brothers reunion record. You can see the cover there. It's called Walk This Road. The brand new album, it's on Rhino Records actually, which is interesting because Rhino usually does mainly reissues, but the Doobies are such a heritage act that they're like, yeah, we'll put that out. And it unites Tom Johnston, Michael McDonald, Patrick Simmons, and John McPhee for the first time. So, yeah, McDonald is on this. Walk This Road, Learn to Let Go, and Angels of Mercy are some of the songs on it. Yeah, so it's been a long time since the four of them. I want to say it's maybe 40 years almost. Not quite that long, but long time. Another band that I truly love, and those of you who know me know that how much I love this band. Pulp, Jarvis Cocker and company, and their first record in 24 years, 25 years. I've been seeing this a lot more lately where these bands are getting back together, and their new album, More. This was recorded last fall. Producer James Ford, who works with, oh gosh, everybody lately. He's been doing Arctic Monkeys, Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, can't remember. There were a whole bunch of people he'd produced just even in the last year. But it sort of sounds like a Pulp record. I got a nice little sneak peek on it. It reminds me a little bit of a mix of like Different Class album that they sort of broke through, and We Love Life, which was their sort of last album 20 some years ago that Scott Walker produced. I would say I think it could have been probably a better follow-up album to I mean, I love the album After Different Class. I'm trying to remember the name of it right now. But it was a darker album, and things sort of took a darker turn for them. This one is more sort of like in line with, I think, what Different Class was. But Spike Island is a really great single, sort of a song about an infamous Stone Roses gig that happened on an island somewhere. A lot of these songs are sort of, because Jarvis is older, I mean, he's done a lot of solo records. I think he's sort of feeling his age, and it's kind of like songs that are taken from the perspective of before he was kind of like a lounge lizard Lothario in some ways, and kind of that guy who was like always on the make for whatever kind of situation with a love interest he could get into. And this one sort of a little more like comfortable in his own skin about being an slightly older person. I think he's probably, I don't know, late 50s maybe. And just being comfortable with his life. The album is sort of dedicated to Steve Mackey, who was their bass player who passed away a couple years ago. So they have a new bass player. And Candida Doyle takes part, even though she has some sort of rheumatoid arthritis issue, and which is awesome to see her there even as a presence. And so the last songs on here are fairly like more kind of quiet tonally and a little slower, but the early songs, Tina, Grown Ups, Gotta Have Love is like a great sort of positive anthem, even through like adversity and stuff. Slow Jam and My Sex are a little more like sex driven kind of songs, I suppose, but it's a great album. I'm really, really impressed with it. I mean, it's not perfect, but I would give it a, an A, 95 out of 100 or so. Very impressive. Jarvis writes lyrics like nobody else, so I'm just glad to see them back as a group. Okay, I got sidetracked there, but I love that record. I've been waiting for it. Okay, new one from Frankie and the Witch Fingers. This is called Trash Classic, and it's Frankie and the Witch Fingers at their most unhinged, a feral blast of proto-punk venom, wiry synths, and jagged melodies, bug-eyed, breakneck, and gloriously rotten. I can only imagine what the cover looks like because it's in this bag, right? So, and it's on Bug Juice neon green vinyl. I should have mentioned here, we've got the Blue Sky Thinking Indie exclusive vinyl of that too, which is kind of a blue, watery sort of marbled look. But this one's neon green Bug Juice. All right. Here's another artist that I've seen live, and I really respect her as a writer and a singer, and I'm not sure why she hasn't been huge. A lot of kids know who she is, but this is probably it's got to be her 6th or 7th album now. Princess of Power by Marina, formerly Marina and the Diamonds. This is her new record deal with BMG and her Queenie label. This is Yellow Butterfly vinyl. She's just a very kind of talented writer when it comes to like observing the difference between Brits and American. She's a British artist with sort of, I think, Greek heritage or something like that, but very sort of like the take on different classes, a lot of stuff about young women and how they can be sort of led around by the glamour scene and whatever. And she has had a couple albums where she played, at least one in particular, where she sort of inhabited a character that was sort of like a Britney Spears type character, and sort of got a little bit backlash for it because people thought she did the character so well that people were like, is she becoming the character? And it's like, no, and she sort of backed off from that. But this, I think, is a little bit of a return to that because it was her most popular record when she tried to be more of a pop singer. So usually her songs are, quirky and charming. It's kind of in that Regina Spektor category, but not necessarily a stage pianist, but more of a like a performer. It does have her new single. I can't even say it hardly, but Cantissimo, which if you want to check the video for Cantissimo, it depends on how you say it. It is kind of I don't know. It's sort of funny. It's meant to be tongue in cheek, and she's an attractive girl. So Marina, new record. Pop people will know who that is. Hayden Pedigo and his latest record, and this is called I'll be waving as you drive away. Let's see. This is I'll be waving is the new album, a psychedelic show-stopping finale to Texas-born and bred artists' fabled Motor trilogy, fusing intricate American primitive guitar play with elegant ensemble accompaniments, lush mellotron choirs, and wordless cinematic storytelling. So anyway, new Hayden Pedigo. I do have customers who are really into him too, so I'm sure they'll be excited to see that's out. You see him sitting there with his guitar. All right, and that is on Mexican Summer Records. So side A only has 3 tracks, so they must be quite long. All right, so there's a couple reissues here I want to mention, and then I'm going to get into my recommend for the week too. But a JPEG Mafia, and this is sort of the deluxe edition of his most recent album, I Lay Down My Life for You. He's been very popular, especially his last record with, was it Danny Brown? They did Scarin' the Hose was the name of that record. Don't you love that I'm a font of this kooky knowledge? Like, I gotta be the only person. If there's only a way that I could possibly monetize this, right? When AI comes in, they would be like, yeah, we don't know what to make of this guy's brain. It's sort of like melted. Steely Dan, and yes, Royal Scam finally gets its reissue. This is a Bernie Grundman cut master, and produced by Gary Katz. This was Becker and Fagan 1976 classic featuring Kid Charlemagne, Don't Take Me Alive, The Fez, Green Earrings, Haitian Divorce. I mean, I don't know. Probably every Steely Dan record is worth recommending from that first run up through Gaucho, I think, for sure. And then after that, well, obviously they got awards like Album of the Year for, what was it, Everything Must Go. Is that the name of it? 90s records. And, you know, people were like, they're just giving them these awards because they should have given them to them in the 70s. Whatever. I guess it depends on if you're a Steely Dan fan or not. I'm very excited about this reissue. Yaz and Upstairs at Eric's. This is the American edition. The UK one obviously says Yazoo, which was their name, the chosen name that they had, Yazoo, which was a problem because they got sued by the American record label, Americana, Yazoo Records, and or were going to get sued, so they had to change their name in the US. So this is on crystal clear vinyl, which is cool. Features 3 big hit singles in the UK anyway. Only You, Don't Go, and Situation. And Situation was not originally on this album. It was originally a song called Tuesday, I believe, and they that was kind of a slow, mellow song, and side 2 was kind of a slow, mellow side. And they ended up swapping that out for Situation, which was a B-side, kind of a dance club track. And that's what took off in the US and the clubs. And Alison Moyet, who went on to have a big solo career after that, especially in the UK. And then Vince Clarke, who had been in Depeche Mode, wrote Just Can't Get Enough, and then went on to form Erasure with Andy Bell and has had decades of records with him. This was the debut that he and Allison did together. They only did 2 albums, and then he sort of called it a quits on that. But they really did a great job, I think, as far as like, she's got a very bluesy, soulful voice, and his music is so overly electro keyboard kind of driven. So it's interesting trying to meld that kind of soul music to keyboards, to synths. The only other person or band that really did that big at that time was Soft Cell with songs like Tainted Love. But this was, I don't know. I remember the first time I heard this, and it was pretty earth shattering for me. I was like, wow, this is what music could be. I think I first heard Situation. I think I bought it in like a cutout bin as a 12-inch single at my local Alco type Walmart type store. And I hadn't even heard the song. I just was entranced with the cover. It was cheap, and I was like, I wonder what this sounds like. And I was like, holy crap, this is pretty amazing production and all, and use of synths. So Situation, definitely. Goodbye 70s is an awesome track. Midnight is a fantastic ballad. Bad Connection is great. In My Room is kind of a cool song with these weird spoken words interjecting. I think. Oh, and Winter Kills is very beautiful too. The only song I would kind of probably skip is I Before E, Except After C, which is not really a song. It's more of a experiment in like vocal looping and tapes that are kind of run repetitively. It can be really annoying, and some people love it. And I think if you know the record and you're ready for it, you're like, okay, it is what it is, you know. But it kind of is the only thing that interrupts the flow of what otherwise would be for me a 5-star record. You know, brings it down just a notch, but I think fantastic. All the other stuff, fantastic. I gotta get this too. Clear vinyl. All right. Last week I mentioned this album that we just got back in, Amy Mann, Lost in Space. It's just been reissued, and we sold a lot of it. And actually, it's hard to get now because the stock is so depleted. There aren't many of them left, but what a great album. The presentation of this, by the way, with the extra artwork in there. She does commentary on all of the songs, and just like written word, and a lot of extra sort of cartoons and things of this, the artwork. And then the vinyl itself is like a green splatter. It's very awesome. So I think they did an excellent job with this package. The songs are all sort of about sad characters, and this was my recommend last week, and sort of like people who are like facing like drug addiction and kind of insecurities and stuff. I should have mentioned the last song, It's Not, is absolutely beautiful and probably one of the most beautiful songs she's ever written, and definitely heart gut wrenching. And I think she probably would agree. I think she said something like it was her favorite song or the best song that she'd ever wrote in that kind of style or whatever. But really great. One thing I learned when I was reading the comments on a commentary on this was that the song Today's the Day, which she keeps saying, isn't it enough for you? Isn't it enough? Because she'd done Magnolia, the soundtrack for that, she was asked to write songs for, or a song for the Jennifer Lopez movie, Enough, where she was like a woman that was being attacked by her ex-husband, and it was sort of an action movie. So she said, I kept trying to sandwich the word enough into the song a lot. And she's like, I think I got it in there a lot, but, it's weird thinking that song was written for a J-Lo movie. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is because this week my recommend is yet another singer-songwriter from the era. And unfortunately, we just lost her as in a house fire. And I feel like maybe it's sort of disingenuous to sort of prop her up now because I hadn't really talked about her in a long time. But she really was a very talented writer and very underrated. And her reissue of her album just happened to be rescheduled or scheduled for today or this Friday. And that would be Jill Sobule. And so her big album that she had in 1995 self-titled record. It's just tragic now that it's out now after she's gone, and the house fire in Minnesota is still under investigation. There are things out there that are trying to paint her as like someone who I don't think she was. So she always seemed like such a sweet individual, and I don't really think that don't believe what you read right now because they're still investigating. But she was mid 60s, and she's the only one that didn't get out of the house. Terrible. Anyway, I just, was revisiting this album, and I thought, I really need to talk about her a little bit. This is a nice red vinyl pressing. It sounds great. And it's got 13 songs. It features her hit song, I Kissed a Girl, which was the first version, the first time someone wrote a song that was popular called I Kissed a Girl. I think it's the more charming of the two. The second one was Katy Perry's breakthrough hit, which was written by Kathy Dennis, who was another sort of 80s into 90s singer-songwriter who had a lot of dance club hits, and hers was a much bigger hit than Jill's was. This album at the time only sold maybe about 150,000 copies. It wasn't a huge seller, but people knew who she was. She ended up having a couple more really great albums, singer-songwriter, and then even more after that. But a lot of it sort of went very indie, and it was kind of hard to follow her, I think, or to know what was going on, since she wasn't being promoted by the big record companies anymore. But she did hook up with Lloyd Cole for a while. Lloyd Cole and the Commotions from the 80s is a sort of jangly singer-songwriter, and did played on one of his albums and toured with him. So she did sort of have other things that she did, and she ended up recently she was touring and opening for the Fix on their tour of the US. So I just wanted to mention this album really because as my recommend, I think it's a very good singer-songwriter album from the 90s that there's so many women that came out, and they sort of all get lumped together, and it's a shame because I think they were all, so many of them were so talented, and she really had a great ear for not only melody but the lyrics. Every song on this, other than maybe I Kissed a Girl, is sort of a kind of a cutesy type easy hit. And the other hit on here, Supermodel, which I'll get to in a second. The rest of it is like great kind of jazz, pop, folk. Like it's kind of a hybrid of that stuff. There were a lot of great performers on this record. People that were like legends in the business even. And Wayne Kramer from the MC5 plays bass on a track. But produced by Brad Jones. But her, she had 2 or 3 records before this. If I asked you the question, what do Todd Rundgren, Joe Jackson, and Wendy and Lisa from Prince's Revolution have in common? Well, they'd all worked with her before this album. Todd produced her first album, and it didn't do very well, and it took 4 or 5 years to get this one out. In the meantime, she recorded an album with Joe Jackson that was shelved. And then she did another album, or part of an album with Wendy and Lisa, and that got shelved. So, and those were both recorded for MCA, so she got out of that deal and ended up doing this for Atlantic. But what I'll say about it is songs like, it starts with a kind of a poppier song, like Good Person Inside, basically like questioning, like, are people really good? What makes a good person? But I think as the album goes along, it's just, there's so much depth in the writing here. Margaret, which is a song about a woman who is sort of like the hot girl in high school, and you lose track of her, and then you find out later that she's like posing for like nudie mags, or like now she'd be on OnlyFans or something like that. Song Karen by Night, which was about a woman who is very straight laced in the office, and then later on you see like at night you're out and you see her like in leather, getting on bikes, motorbikes, and like dancing at nightclubs, and she leads like this double life. Houdini's Box is a very like introvert type song about feeling like how you're sort of chained by love, like you're in a magic act or something. Trains is a great song. The Jig is Up. Verbanya Bridge. At the time, there was a couple in the Bosnia Serbia war that was sort of like a Romeo and Juliet type situation where they were separated by whichever side they were on, and they were going to flee together. And so after some times that they were sort of like together, they tried running across this bridge to get out of the area, and were ended up both being gunned down. And so Jill turns it into like a kind of a heartbreaking love story song about this couple and like seeking freedom. And the very last song on here, Now That I Don't Have You, is extremely heartbreaking now, especially because there's a line in there about basically feeling like she's burning in hell, which has a kind of a sort of resonance as far as like what happened with the house fire. But I recommend, I mean, this is a really gorgeous, you just don't think of like 90s folk pop being something that's like necessarily the first thing that you go to, but I just am very impressed hearing it now again 30 years later, how good this was. And I did hear a couple of her albums after, and they were excellent too. She just didn't hit the sort of commercial mainstream, and so that's kind of a sad part of it. Supermodel was her other big hit that was from this, that ended up on the Clueless soundtrack. And she didn't really necessarily write that song. It was mostly written by David and David Bearwald, the guys who were like Sheryl Crow's Tuesday Night Music Club. Kind of, they sort of started collaborating with that too. And she didn't get songwriting credit for that, even though there's a bridge in the song where she talks about, I didn't eat yesterday, I'm not going to eat today, I won't eat tomorrow because I want to be thin like a supermodel. And that was taken from personal experience because she also had fought issues with anorexia. And she said at one point that she probably should have asked for writing credit. She thought it was a little crappy that they never gave it to her. So, and hopefully now maybe someone will find it in their hearts to give it to her, because not like it matters, but I think for the sake of being a contributing writer to that song. Cute song. It's sort of more of a punk pop type of song, but 90s. Anyway, so yeah, Jill Sobule, my recommend the week. Okay, going on. There's more. I'll zip through these. My Chemical Romance, and a reissue of their album from 2004. It's remixed, and it's the Three Cheers, I believe. Is that the one? Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge? Deluxe edition. I Am Not Okay. Helena. Ghost of You. There's 4 additional tracks on here too. And this is on red and black Corona vinyl. So it's black, and it's got this kind of red sort of paint effect around it. But produced by Rich Costi. There's not much. I mean, there's titles here, but you can't see it because they're all in black on black. So anyway, that was a popular record in the early 2000s. This has been out before. Simple Plan. This is the No Balls album. No pads, no helmets, just balls. Sorry. This is a reissue on red and white splatter vinyl, or red with white splatter. It's a 25th anniversary edition of this punk pop album that was very popular back in the day, and a great album cover. It's just like fun. Primus and Fizzle Fry reissue of this, and it's got sort of different colors of like it's sort of like a tricolor type vinyl or split color, special color vinyl of that. Clap your hands, say yeah, this is their biggest album. This is a reissue 20th anniversary deluxe gatefold. They just reissued another album called Hysterical a week or two ago, and Philadelphia based Alec Allensworth does a sort of quote here on the OB, and it says Philadelphia, January 2025. When he sort of, they're sort of a groovy alternative rock, like kind of like an LCD sound system, but maybe less percussive, I guess. I don't know, more melodic, maybe, I suppose. But this is really cool to see this. So, New Order, um, Joy Division and New Order spawned many different spin-off groups when they weren't getting along. And Peter Hook, the bass player, he sort of did a group called Revenge for a little while that sort of like mutated and changed into a band called Monaco, which was really just him and this guy David Potts. And this is the 25th anniversary of their second album, the self-titled Monaco. This is a very hard record to find. The first one was reissued a year or two ago, a year ago, I think. That's a great album. It has the single "I've Got a Feel." Sorry, that one has "What Do You Want From Me." This is the one that has "I've Got a Feeling" is the first single here, and it originally came out on I want to say like Butterfly. So, something like Butterfly Records. I can't remember the label name, but it was them and the Human League that released records in the same week, their album Secrets. And the label went bankrupt as soon as the records came out, so they didn't have the money to promote them. So they kind of faded into obscurity. But this is a really great, if you like New Order, I would sort of maybe check this out. It's maybe slightly the dancier side of New Order. Seesaw's like kind of a 9 or 10 minute dance track, I think, or at least it's more of a club track. Kashmir is a really good song, and it's not the Led Zeppelin song, and it's sort of padded out here with a bunch of remixes of Seesaw and a couple instrumentals at the end of the album. But cool seeing it on vinyl from Music on Vinyl, limited edition of 2000. On green color. And another of that era, Betty Boo, and not Betty Boop, Betty Boo. And this is Gurr. It's Betty Boo. This was her second album. Also, her first album in the UK hit the top 5, and that one's being reissued in a week or so. That one's called Boo Mania. This one hit more like the top 50. So it was sophomore slump city for her, unfortunately. This is a really great record, though, pop record. The first one was much more rappy and hip-hop kind of, sort of like in that Nana Cherry school of stuff. And this is a little more like she was trying to become more of a singer. And they're very like pleasant songs, very summery kind of album. But it just didn't do big business. Although the song "Let Me Take You There" was a top 15 hit in the UK. But she'd had at least 3 previous top 5 hits there. So that was our top 10s. So it was a little bit of a letdown. But I think it's a great album. If you're into like pop stuff, Alison Clarkson is the real name. And she recently just got back into recording. She just put out 2 albums in the last 3 years. She's been a singer-songwriter for all this time, or more of a songwriter behind the scenes. Wrote some stuff for like Simon Cowell for a while around 2000s. And apparently when they were putting the Spice Girls together, they were looking for 5 Betty Boos. And I would say, Jerry Halliwell, Ginger Spice, is not that far off. The only thing that's different is Allison was more of a girl of color, and had Malaysian background, but British. And so she said it was kind of difficult for her getting her foot into the business at the time because of her heritage and all that stuff. I can imagine 30 years ago, 35, that was not easy. But she's still out there doing it, early 50s, and check out, if you like pop stuff, her last two albums are a lot of fun. I think the first one of the two, she had a couple of guest stars on it. David Gray and Chuck D were both on there. So Chuck D is sort of the one that discovered her. So he heard her somewhere and he's like, that girl's talented, give her a record deal. So when she was like 19, Scottish girl, whatever. Anyway, or Northern England. All right, so a couple of Blue Note tone poets. I'm this far into the video and I'm just doing these now. Andrew Hill, the music of Andrew Hill. This features John Gilmore, Bobby Hutcherson, Richard Davis, and Joe Chambers. So that's a classic. This would be, what year did this come out? 1964. So you got classic Blue Note there. This one from 1956, Serge Chaloff. And this features, it's Blue Serge is the name of it, features Sonny Clark on piano, Joe Jones on drums, and Leroy Vinegar on bass. This is like, you never see this at all. So, and I don't think too many people know who Serge Chaloff is. I don't. So it's kind of a cool thing to see something like that. Best of Isaac Hayes. This is a great reissue coming out for him. Sort of an abridged collection. It has theme from Shaft, Walk On By, Never Can Say Goodbye, Look of Love, theme from The Men, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, Joy, Do Your Thing, I Stand Accused, and Wonderful. So Best of Isaac. Eli Paperboy Reed, and this is Sings Walkin' and Talkin' and Other Smash Hits 20th Anniversary Edition. Eli's like a great blues, kind of upbeat blues performer, and this one includes 15 previously unreleased bonus tracks. So, and they're like a lot of radio station recordings, but very cool. You haven't seen that in a long time. I don't know if I've ever seen that one on vinyl or CD. Isaiah J. Thompson and the Book of Isaiah, Modern Jazz Ministry. This guy, I think, is really worth checking out. This is a new record on Mack Avenue, a bold autobiographical musical statement by rising star pianist and composer, as seen on NPR Music's Tiny Desk Concert, limited edition vinyl, produced by Cyrus Chestnut, another famous pianist. And this is winner of the 2023 American Piano Awards, this guy here. So I would check out Isaiah J. Thomas if you're into jazz. Also a reissue of Joe Henderson and Woody Shaw. This is the first reissue of any kind Burnin' 1970 live performances from the same shows that became Joe Henderson's seminal album, If You're Not Part of the Solution, You're Part of the Problem. And it's called Jazz Patterns. All right, so Joe Henderson and Woody Shaw. Couple of reissues from Slum Village, a rap collective from the 90s. Fantastic Volume 1 and Fantastic Volume 2. These are sort of limited in supply for me right now, so if you want more, ask me and I'll get them. Also, these are sort of reissues from Record Store Day, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and the Chamber of Secrets. I believe the others are available too, but these I had sold out of so quickly, and they're on black vinyl. All right, I need to kind of get these. There's so much stuff, guys. I need to get the CDs in too, because some of these are on vinyl or coming on vinyl. Brian Eno has 2 releases this week with an artist named Beatty Wolf, who is a young female artist. Lateral, which is an hour of ambient music, and Luminal, which is a vocal album. Mostly Beatty singing, I believe, with Brian doing more of the backing. But Lateral and Luminal, those are the 2 Brian Eno related releases this week. They have not shown up yet on vinyl, so hopefully soon. Wu-Tang Clan, Black Samson, The Bastard Swordsman on CD. All right, I think there's a vinyl version of this coming too. They're out on tour this summer. Features everybody but ODB. So if you know who Wu-Tang Clan are, that's out on CD, kind of limited. This is great. And again, waiting for the vinyl on this. Should be soon. North Mississippi All Stars. And this is their new album, Still Shakin'. Limited to 1,000 copies that are autographed. So Luther Dickinson is on here. I think he's up that corner there. So anyway, this is their new. If you're into like blues rock, they're always like a very sought after band here. Mary Chapin Carpenter and her new album Personal History, and this is also available on vinyl. But they're already spoken for, so if you want one, you're gonna have to let me know. Pete Shelley of the Buzzcocks, Homo Sapien and XL1, these got reissued treatment on CD. I'm not sure if they're on vinyl. They might be, but these have extra tracks too, and they're also reissued. Bonus B-sides and dub mixes, new liner notes by Clinton Halen. To Pete Shelley on CD. Finn Wolfhard, a star of Stranger Things. We already have Joe Keery. He's got a couple of records out recently. So we have those. Finn Wolfhard, this is the CD for his album, Happy Birthday. It seems like half of the kids on Stranger Things have music deals out there or are putting out their own records. Finn is like the sort of, I want to say like sort of central character in the sort of original story. But yeah, he's doing records now too. I think that's on vinyl also. We don't have it yet, but if you want it, let me know. War and their box set, Why Can't We Be Friends? This is the 50th anniversary. This was a record store day vinyl, and now it's a $34 CD box. It has the 10-minute version of Lowrider, or 9 and some. And finally, Atomic Rooster and their new reissue CD. Atomic Rooster, let's see, it's released in 1980, bonus tracks, and then live at the Marquee Club. So, I don't know, this might even be older than that, but that album was sort of sought after as far as like a archival record. So, all right, thanks guys. Again, 42 minutes. I'm trying to get them shorter, but and there's so much stuff coming out for the next week or two. So anyway, you'll be seeing me again next week. Have a very wonderful weekend. It's going to be raining again here. That's all it does lately. So well, got to figure out when lawn mowing time comes and all, but take care. Peace. Thanks for watching. See you soon. And buy some music. There's so much good stuff. It's a lot of catching up. All right. Take care. Bye.